Is whistleblowing good or bad for America? Well, people say that if we have nothing to hide, why act so protective of our privacy? If goodness always trumps evil, then what do we have to fear? For the record, I still believe that goodness actually does trump evil, but that's for later. I wrote an article a few months ago about how these NSA surveillance program could actually affect us even if we don't feel anything right now. For example, they could use the data to make a case against any citizen in the future, even if you didn't commit the crime that you were implicated in. Because when it's your job to make someone look guilty and you have all of their emails and phone records at your fingertips, you will definitely find something that looks very bad against whatever the accusation is. Spin is easy when you have the right tools. That's not a surprise. Bradley Manning was sentenced today, finally, after 1,300 days in captivity before trial. That's a little over 3.5 years in a maximum security prison where everyone in charge was very, very mad at him. Like, make him sleep completely naked mad. It's been a while since the world found out what Manning did, and we've had about 5 solid years as a nation to decide whether we think he was helping or hurting the United States. A concerned Manning saw war crimes, murders, and serious abuses of power during his time in the military, and when he told his superiors several different times, they asked him to please stop worrying about it. But because he couldn't, he freaked out and he released every classified military piece of information he could to Julian Assange of WikiLeaks, hoping that Assange would sort through and publish the things that stood out as abuses. One such thing was the infamous collateral damage video. It's on YouTube, in which the soldiers in a helicopter above a war zone confuse a reporter's telescopic camera lens with an IED. And instead of checking, they just blow up the reporter in the van next to it, which contained 2 children and their dad on the way to school in the morning. Subsequent information showed that the families of these victims and many other people in similar situations were never compensated or even acknowledged by our government that this happened. We learned that the U.S. has been keeping records of every child and citizen that they killed, but we had decided to avoid getting involved in apologies or reparations or anything like that. I made a video about Manning's charges before where I detail things like that. I'll put a link. What caused the biggest problem for Manning, though, was that Assange did not sort through the data. Instead, he blindly published it all. 250,000 different documents detailing the names and locations of our covert operations and spies who had infiltrated enemy lines to gain information we can use against them. Covert ops are an invaluable part of winning a war and very easy to ruin with a leak like this. These leaks and others like them put the military in a frenzy, and many Americans were outraged that a fellow American would put lives in danger by recklessly releasing that information. But if we're the good guys, what do we have to worry about? Okay, I'm going to say it. We're not the good guys. There are no good guys. This is a war. War is hell, and good guys do not create hell on earth and then ask their people to do their duty by killing each other. Here's a more abstract reaction to whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Bradley Manning. These people released government documents and secrets because the federal government has apparently forgotten that the reason our awesome country even exists is because some very smart dudes took all the lessons they learned from living in tyranny and applied that to a new nation with the greatest constitution in the world. And in less than 300 years, we got caught up in 3 things that we were explicitly supposed to avoid. Number 1, capital gains are more important than equal American freedom of opportunity. They're not. Number 2, it's more important to get our way than to work together to solve common problems. No. And number 3, surveillance and illegal search and seizure of American citizens' data and property out of fear is more important than constitutionally guaranteed privacy. Get out of here with that. If this were true, we would be the weakest nation in the whole world, and we'd be terrified of everything, including ourselves. American bravery in its former glory came from a place of certainty that our way, the free way, works better than any other form of government. And it really did, too. Remember the Industrial Revolution and the swift and victorious comeback after the tragic Great Depression? Elvis? It wasn't perfect, but we had the direction right. And we knew why. People were afraid to fuck with us. The freedom to develop made us the land of golden opportunity and provided millions of economically sound jobs for immigrants from all over the place. It wasn't a problem. The freedom of protest, critical journalism, and open debate improved our policies even further with everybody's help. But best of all, we could do what we wanted, be honest about our actions, and still feel really fucking good about ourselves. Am I supposed to believe that's dead now? Congress is made up of more than 600 dudes and ladies that we trust to make very heavy decisions for our America. I can't help you if you don't vote, because the system's so broken it makes you sleepy. Vote anyway. Congress never voted to declare a war on terror, mostly because that's silly, and terror is not a nation or a government, and there would have been no proper way to even do that. Yet here we are. What a mindfuck, right? Fear in the beginning has been the opposite of American freedom. It didn't even factor in. Were we afraid of the British redcoats during the Revolutionary War? No. In fact, the reason the Fourth Amendment even exists is because these redcoats like to issue these things called writs of assistance, general warrants that are absolutely no different from the current secret FISA court general warrants. Any British soldier or government agent could be granted a writ of assistance from a judge and use it to search and seize whatever they felt necessary from whoever they felt might deserve it. Fucked up, right? Yeah, that's why we America'd. If our government's so afraid of a general terrorist threat that we're willing to even come close to the writs of assistance, and our people are so afraid that we're willing to let them, then what are we going to do? Find an island and name it America Junior? No, that's stupid. We have a great America. It actually does belong to us, even if that doesn't feel like the way it is. Roughly 430 of our 435 congressional representatives are, to put it kindly, not good enough for us. That almost definitely includes yours and mine, unless you've got a Barney Frank or a Dennis Kucinich or an Elizabeth Warren or a Ted Cruz under your belt. I'm serious. If none of those people are your representatives, then you are under a social contract to get your guy or gal out of there like now. Bonus points if you have a beef with the ones I did list. Let's just start over. One of my state's 2 senators is a lady named Dianne Feinstein. I don't care what you think you know about this lady or if she said something to pander to something you're into. I watch her on C-SPAN almost every day, and the shit she says does not match her pleasant great-aunt demeanor at all. The shit she says is insane, and not in a typical partisan way, in a lady with a lot of secrets way. She is a very bad American representative. But that's not all. Feinstein is also the chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Intelligence. That's the group tasked with checking up on the NSA, hearing about their classified programs, and deciding whether or not they're appropriate and good for Americans. And while nearly every other senator and congressional representative is angrily holding the NSA to the fire for its vast abuses of privacy, here's what Senator Feinstein has to say. As I have said previously, the committee has never identified an instance in which the NSA has intentionally abused its authority to conduct surveillance for inappropriate purposes. Yeah, but what if they have? I asked her in a letter. They haven't, it's fine, and you should stop worrying about it, she basically said. She really did respond, and here's the email. The lady's got secrets. Let's have congressional term limits, hey? Let's pay more attention when we vote for Congress than the gigantic shit show that is the presidential election. After all, our mouthpieces in the Capitol building are leagues more important than a single guy assigned to have very limited power. We're smarter than that, and we're also lucky enough to be able to pull this car over right fucking now, young man. These fools are gonna make us come back there and slap some Democratic Republic back into them, and we're not too afraid to do it. We're the bosses of this place. Really, we legitimately are. Leave me a comment about who your representative is. No freshmen, because there's not enough dirt on them yet. And I'll give you 3 reasons why their time has definitely come. I'm serious, I'm really gonna do this. I know so many things about so many of these people, and they're all so bad. Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, and all the other ones, you know them, are pathetic attempts to make us put importance on the wrong things. Never trust a pretty face with a teleprompter. The founding fathers were ugly as sin, and that's the way it ought to be.